So me, one thing about me that people may or may not know, low key, like on the low though, I am kind of a big fan of man versus beast movies, man. Um, the 70s had their little run. Obviously, Jaws was pretty much the main movie that kind of skyrocketed that subgenre. Then you had like Orca and things like that. Then I don't know if it was the 70s or the 80s. You had things like Razorback and Piranha. And the 90s is kind of where it peaked for me, where they found a fine line between like horror and comedy, like cheesy comedy type of thing, where you had Deep Rising, you had Anaconda, you had Lake Placid. I would even put like to a certain extent, man, I would even put like The Relic in there a little bit. It's more of a creature feature, but this whole man versus beast subgenre, man, I do like it a lot, man. Even the bad ones are fun to go back and look on. And I think more recently in the 2010s era, we got Crawl and The Shallows and the Meg. I think we were doing pretty well with those movies, but I feel like there are more bad ones than good ones. So this movie, even as much as I like it, I wasn't really interested in a killer chimp movie, man. For God's sakes, as big of a George A. Romero fan as I am, I don't want to go back and watch Monkey Shines. But I gotta say, man, after watching this, it's gonna be hard to go back and watch something like Monkey Shines that was a product of its time, because this shit was lit. This movie, people, let me tell y'all something about Ben here. Good old Benjamin. Ben ain't come here to play games with y'all. He did not come here to fuck around with y'all. And honestly, I kind of wrote this movie off 2 minutes in. And then within said 2 minutes in, I was locked the fuck in. And I'm going to tell y'all now, I won't spoil a whole bunch of the kills and all that type of stuff, because the kills in this movie, man, are crazy. The majority of these kills are brutal. They are bloody. Yo, I'm telling y'all about my boy Ben is not fucking around in this movie, man. And shit gets popping pretty early. But when I say I wrote this off early on, very early on, there's a guy who's got a needle and he's trying to give the needle to Ben while he's in the enclosure in the house that is out in the middle of fucking no man's land. But, he's like, oh, Ben, where'd you go? And, they're showing Ben like you don't really see him, but he's in the darkness. He's in the darkness. It's kind of one of those Gremlins moments where the teacher had the needle and was going after the gremlin and he gets stuck with the needle. But, the guy is like reaching inside the dark, like, Ben, you in there? And Ben's hand creeps out. He grabs the guy and pulls him into the darkness. This is when I wrote the movie off almost immediately, because I was like, oh my God, he pulled him into the darkness. Here we go. Where's the title card? Primate. We're not going to see what happens to him. I was wrong. Ben pushes this motherfucker back into the camera so we can see what's about to happen to him. Pushes him back into the camera, into the forefront, into the light, and tears this son of a bitch's face off. Tears half of his fucking face off, man. And it is a cool practical effect, man. And I was like, oh, well, I've been had. Like, if this is what we're doing, if this is the type time Ben is on, you can count me in, man. Send in the dumbass characters, man. And all these characters are, listen, people, as entertaining and as bloody as this movie is, as unintentionally funny as this movie is, these are possibly some of the dumbest fucking characters I've ever seen in a man versus beast when animals attack movie. All of the girls are fucking brain dead stupid for the most part. There's one guy that comes on the trip with him who thinks he's going to be the alpha male of the situation at some point. Fuck no. His moment got me, man. That was like one of the craziest cringe moments, like one of the biggest oh shit moments in the movie, man. I'm telling you, this shit is so brutal, and I did not expect it to be that, man. Whole time I'm watching this movie, it wasn't until I was done with it that I realized this was directed by Johannes Roberts, who did The Strangers Pray at Night, which I think is super underrated. And he also did Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, which isn't the best Resident Evil movie. Some would argue that there are no good Resident Evil movies. But I think as far as the video game adaptation, or the video game adaptations that we've seen on screen, live action from Resident Evil, he made the closest to the video games as we've gotten. There's a TV show. I didn't really bother with that. They had Wesker looking like Blade and shit. Recipe shout out to Lance Reddick, but I didn't bother with the TV show. I didn't care that they race swapped Wesker, because I'm like, y'all couldn't get the white Wesker, right? So I don't care that y'all are making him black. If you're going to do it, make it serve the story and make sure it's not for shock value. But he did do the closest to Resident Evil that we've gotten live action, at least until Zach Kreger comes out with his version. But man, like, I'm actually glad that this director is sticking with the horror genre for the most part, man. This is obviously something he loves to do, and he loves attempting to scare the shit out of people. And if he doesn't, then he wants to make brutal, bloody movies, man. I don't see anything wrong with that. I feel like the guy is kind of finding his step. I mean, he came in swinging with The Strangers Pray at Night. I really think that movie's underrated, man. But this is hands down, I'm not gonna say it's his best film, but hands down his most entertaining film. Yo, I'm telling y'all, man. One of my biggest problems with this movie, amongst the many fucking problems that this movie actually had, was the location of this house. You know that if something goes wrong, help ain't gonna get there. You could get a fucking splinter in your foot and want to call the ambulance. They ain't getting there for the next 16 business days, because y'all got this. There's a shot when they show the house and they're like zooming out and you see like the grand scale, the big scope of where this house is and the land surrounding it. It ain't shit out there. And the house is on the edge of a cliff. At that, it's in the jungle on the edge of a cliff. You know you setting yourself up for failure. And you got a super smart chimp who's got fucking rabies, man. And there is that moment in the movie where, as dumb as it gets, I did sympathize with Ben at some point, because I'm like, it is a Cujo situation where he didn't ask for rabies. Like, yo, let me get that rabies up there on the menu. Like, he didn't ask for that shit. It just so happened, I think he got bit by like a mongoose or something. But the characters are so dumb, they let his wound go untreated, and his face is all fucked up. Like, you could tell something's not right with him, man. And when he gets going, he gets going. And there's a really good scene, yo, or a really good sequence in this movie where you've got more characters that show up at this house after shit has already hit the fan, and they come in there to party and get some ass and shit like that. No. Ben has plans for those motherfuckers, man, and it is nothing that they could have dreamed of. And honestly, they got what they deserve, because they're going in there and they're just snooping around like it's their fucking house. They didn't count on a super smart chimp with rabies being there. And one of those characters definitely gets a gruesome ass death scene. It's something that we've seen done plenty of times on screen before. Like, we've seen this done in Wishmaster. We've seen this done in Mirrors. We've seen this done in so many different horror movies, man. But I think the way that they took their time with this situation, it was very uncomfortable. It's very weird. It's kind of funny in some moments, but it is brutal as shit, man. But the movie is silly in the sense that I ain't going out like that. Like, you're not gonna see my name and my picture flashing on the screen on the news like, yeah, this is one of Ben's victims at the house. Like, no, we're gonna jump the shit out this monkey, man. I know he's super strong, and no, they don't have a gun in the house. I don't believe they had a gun in the house. They gotta have makeshift weapons and ropes and shit like that to fend off against Ben. But we gonna fuck him up. Hopefully I'm on a trip with like-minded people who watch horror movies. We're gonna fuck that chimp up, man. Somebody gonna jump on his back, somebody grab his feet, somebody grab his arms, somebody just keep hitting him, and then somebody find a weapon to pin his ass to the floor with, and we gonna make it up out of here, man. Because I'm telling y'all, I could see if we was getting eaten by sharks or crocodiles or something like that, or if it was an alligator or a wild boar out, but it's a fucking monkey. And I know it is not uncommon for monkeys to tear people's faces off and fuck them up. I know that, but I think my pride is a little too crazy for me to allow myself to get murdered by Ben the chimp here. But listen, I don't know if it's safe to say we're seeing a resurgence of solid Man versus Beast movies, but I think this is a damn good start for 2026, and I'm hoping people will look at this movie, because it is making some dough at the box office, man. So I'm hoping people look at this movie like, yo, this is one of the moments where I don't care if y'all cash in on the subgenre, because it's been a thing. They've been making movies like this, man. Like I said, it's just a lot more bad ones than it is good ones. But I'm hoping that this can be like a like a launch pad for a new era of Man versus Beast movies, where they actually put some money into it. They actually put some money into the production, and they actually give us like quality, entertaining films. But all I'm saying is, if we're going to jump back on this wave, I at least want the characters to be a lot smarter in movies like these, because I wasn't rooting for these motherfuckers. I was more so screaming at the screen for them to stop being stupid. Wishful thinking, but I think I can honestly give this a 7 out of 10, man. This was entertaining as hell. Definitely caught me off guard for sure.